Good morning, everyone. The committee will come to order. I want to welcome our witnesses to today's hearing. We are here today to discuss VA and what VA is doing, and if they're doing enough to support our survivor community. We have Ms. Gabrielle Coubinier. Did I do that all right? Coubinier. All right, Ms. Kaanan Mackey-Fugler. Okay. Then we have Ashlynne Haycock-Lohmann, and we have Ms. Kelly Ruska. Next, we have Ashlynne Haycock-Lohmann, Director of Government and Legislative Affairs for the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. Ms. Haycock-Lohmann, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Bost, Ranking Member Takano, and distinguished committee members, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors is grateful for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the over 120,000 surviving families TAPS is honored to serve. I am the Gold Star daughter of United States Army Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Haycock, who died while training to deploy in 2002, and Air Force veteran Nicole Haycock, who died by suicide in 2011. I personally understand how life-changing our VA benefits are to our surviving families. Our TAPS written statement highlights many of the most common challenges survivors face in accessing benefits, but I will focus my comments on just a few. The most crucial is for our surviving children. If a surviving child turns 18 before graduating high school, dependency and indemnity compensation should be paid to the child until they graduate. This is not happening. TAPS has consistently raised this issue with the VA over the past 5 years. Unfortunately, the VA has yet to develop a way to process these claims in a timely manner, leading to 18 months and longer delays in payments for all of these students. These should be easy supplemental claims, but every child has experienced a delay in payment due to a lack of a reasonable process for these claims. Many of these surviving children give up after years of trying and never receive the back pay they are owed. We appreciate Undersecretary Jacobs and his team working to identify a permanent solution. In addition, not only is DIC supposed to be paid until a child graduates high school, they should receive DIC in the months between graduation and starting college. Despite this being the law, students are not paid during the summer months. TAPS recommends a process for students to submit a single school certification form that will generate into the national work queue. Additionally, the VA Education Office should be required to notify the Pension Management Center of a surviving child's enrollment in education benefits so pension can release those additional funds. Under the Forever GI Bill, all FRI-eligible children whose loss occurred on or after January 1st, 2013, or who turned 18 on or after that date, should not have a delimiting date. Yet nearly half of the certificates of eligibility TAPS has seen this past year still have one. TAPS recommends moving all Chapter 35 and FRI scholarship claims to one RPO with specialized claim processing to reduce errors and ensure consistency in certificates of eligibility. When an active duty service member passes, the Department of Defense reaches out to the family, guiding them through available benefits and programs. The VA lacks a similar capability as it does not track family members who are not currently receiving benefits, which is the case for most survivors. Additionally, non-active duty surviving spouses are expected to navigate the same entry points as veterans, such as the VA's General Helpline. During their initial call, survivors often receive inaccurate information or are told they are ineligible for benefits. This leads to survivors hesitating to return to the VA for assistance. TAPS recommends creating a separate VA entry point for survivors and an 800 number specifically for surviving families to ensure they receive adequate support and accurate information. The VA's Office of Survivor Assistance would be the logical entry point, but far too many survivors don't even know it exists. Currently, OSA only has 3 staff members to support over 465,000 eligible survivors. TAPS recommends permanently moving the Office of Survivor Assistance into the Office of the Undersecretary of Benefits. OSA has also been treated as if the only benefits survivors receive are compensation. Currently, OSA staff only have access to DIC and pension, therefore are unable to assist with survivor issues like burial, education, healthcare, life insurance, and home loans. TAPS recommends expanding OSA's access to information to include all survivor benefits. The limited awareness among survivors regarding OSA highlights the need for VA to more effectively communicate and promote this survivor program to deliver on its sacred mission, to fulfill President Lincoln's promise to care for those who have served in our nation's military and their families, caregivers, and survivors. Every year, the VA sends letters randomly asking survivors if they have remarried. Surviving spouses are required to send them back confirming their marital status. The VA then terminates DIC when they do not receive those letters, usually because the survivor never received it to begin with. VA does not consistently send the remarriage letters, so survivors are not proactively expecting them. The only way for a survivor to know if VA received their return letter is if they stop receiving DIC. If VA turns off their benefits, it can take months for them to turn back on. Additionally, when a surviving spouse remarries under the age of 55, they are legally required to notify the VA. VA states its processing times are 8 to 12 weeks, but the reality is more like 6 to 18 months. Survivors often have to make multiple calls and resend paperwork before being informed that their file hasn't even been reviewed. Because these survivors are being paid when they are no longer eligible, they are then sent debt letters and expected to pay back the benefits immediately. TAPS recommends passing the Love Lives On Act, which allows our surviving spouses to maintain benefits upon remarriage at any age and would alleviate many of the challenges our surviving spouses currently face. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize myself again to introduce our second witness, Ms. Mackey-Fugler. She is surviving spouse of Staff Sergeant Matthew Mackey, who passed away after an accident during active duty. She is also a mother of 5 Gold Star children. She is a tireless advocate for military and veteran survivors community, including the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We are grateful for Ms. Mackey-Fugler that she's traveled all the way from Louisiana to be here today. And with that, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Bost, Ranking Member Takano, and distinguished committee members, I thank you for the opportunity to share issues and challenges surviving military families face accessing our benefits through the Department of Veteran Affairs. My late husband, Staff Sergeant Matthew Mackey, served in both the Marine Corps and the Iowa National Guard for nearly 2 decades. We had 12 years together, but spent nearly 10 years of that time separated by training, schools, or deployments. In 2010, Matt died as a result of an accident, and I was left alone to raise our 5 young children, who were between the ages of 2 and 11 years. I watched heartbroken as my 9-year-old son ran out of the room bawling, wanting to know who was going to teach him to be a man. Matt didn't want me to spend my life alone or for our children to grow up without a father figure. In 2017, I was lucky enough to find somebody who was honored to take on that role, and my now husband, Josh. Josh was willing to wait the extra 24 years until I turned 55, but it was important for us to show my children that love and morals were more important than money. When Matt died, I was repeatedly told that it was a debt that could never be repaid. But losing my survivor benefits when I remarried feels as though our country is saying, the debt's now paid in full. As if I stopped grieving Matt or the challenges of living this life, raising our kids without him just disappears. People are not replaceable. A piece of paper will never change that I'm Matt's widow. It just means that I'm also somebody else's spouse now. It doesn't wipe away the 12 years I spent sacrificing my own career while Matt served, nor the 13 years after his death I've spent raising our broken family. And though I utilized my education benefits, the gaps in my education and my employment are going to impact my earning potential for the rest of my life. My survivor benefits help not only offset my husband's income, but my loss of my own income as a result of our military life. I faced many challenges as a surviving spouse, but even more so as a remarried surviving spouse. My remarriage created 2 files within the VA since I remarried a disabled veteran, one under Matt and another under Josh. When I remarried, I reported to the VA within 30 days of receiving my marriage license. I was told it would take 8 to 12 weeks for my benefits to be turned off. I then spent the next 7 months making phone calls, sending faxes, getting TAPS involved, even a congressional inquiry. I did everything short of closing my bank account to stop my benefits. Nearly 10 months after I remarried, my DIC finally stopped. I then received my debt letter for over $12,000, which I disputed. 5 years later, I sat before the Board of Veteran Appeals and shared these challenges. And 2 months after that, I received a letter stating that my debt was forgiven. These are just the obstacles that I experienced as a surviving spouse. My children have faced many of their own challenges. For example, when surviving children turn 18 while they're still in high school, they're required to submit VA Form 21-674 60 days before their birthday. Our children aren't filing new claims, but continuing their eligibility while they're still in high school. Unfortunately, VA has not developed a way to process these claims in a timely manner. My 4 young adult children have all been through this process, and each one faced a completely different barrier to ensure their DIC continued. It took 5 months for Alexis, 7 months for Chloe, and 9 months for John. John was actually in college and out on his own before his case was rectified, yet we were told that he didn't meet the criteria for a financial hardship. And our son Aiden's paperwork was submitted this past August, and we're still waiting for his DIC to be reinstated. In addition, our children are only paid DIC through the month they graduate high school, even though VA policy states that they can receive this benefit until they begin utilizing education benefits. None of my children have ever been paid past their graduation month. In closing, I'd like to restate how grateful I am to testify before you today, because many of the issues that I've raised today, Congress has the power to fix in a single comprehensive bill. Passing Love Lives On Act will allow surviving spouses to remarry before the age of 55 and retain their benefits. And this would eliminate many of the challenges. In reference to the VA Form 21674 issue, I'm confident the VA can update their processing procedures to make this transition less complicated for surviving children. In addition, allowing DIC to be paid to our surviving young adults through the summer after graduation would eliminate any gaps that could cause undue hardship. And I thank you again for the opportunity to share my experiences with you and look forward to answering any questions you may have.